This week's forgotten saint is Saint Veronica Juliana, and I'm mispronouncing her last name on purpose. If you go to the show notes today for some links to some good reading on her, and you'll see why I'm doing that. It's being done on purpose today. She is, some say, the source of the prophecies that Luisa Picaretta has credited herself with, which I know some of you will find, will rub you the wrong way a little bit, but there's a reason her stuff is on the index, or was on the index, since we don't have an index anymore, thanks modernism. Anyway, Saint Veronica Juliana was born Orsola of Juliana at Mercateo in the Duchy of Urbino on the 27th of December, 1660. Her parents were Francesco and Bernadetta Mancini Juliana. She was the youngest of 7 sisters, 3 of whom embraced the monastic life. It is told that at the age of 3 years, Juliana supposedly began to show great compassion for the poor. She would set apart a portion of her food for them, even part with her clothes when she met a poor child scantily clad. Her mother passed when Ursula was 7 years of age. When others did not readily join in her religious practices, she was inclined to be dictatorial. At the age of 16, she experienced a vision which corrected this imperfection of character. She saw her own heart as a heart of steel. In her writings, she confesses that she took certain pleasure in the more stately circumstances which her family adopted when her father was appointed superintendent of finance of Piacenza. When Juliana came of age, her father believed she should marry, and so he desired her to take part in the social activities of the young people. But she pleaded so earnestly with her father that, after much resistance, he finally permitted her to choose her own state in life. In 1677, at the age of 17, Juliana was received into the monastery at the Capuchin Poor Clares in Città di Castello in Umbria, Italy, taking the name of Veronica in memory of the Passion. At the conclusion of the ceremony of her reception, the bishop said to the abbess, "I commend this new daughter to your special care, for she will one day be a great saint." Juliana became absolutely submissive to the will of her spiritual directors. Through her novitiate was marked by extraordinary interior trials and temptations to return to the world. In her first years in the monastery, she worked in the kitchen, infirmary, and sacristy, and also served as a portress. At the age of 34, she was made novice mistress. For 50 years, Juliana lived in the Capuchin convent. With gritty determination tempered by humility, she led her sisters as novice mistress for 34 years and as abbess for 11. Juliana governed the convent with obvious common sense and guided the novices with prudence. She would not allow them to read mystical books, requiring them instead to study books on Christian basics. In 1716, she was elected abbess. As a practical woman, she improved her sisters' comfort by enlarging the convent rooms and having water piped inside. She had a lifelong devotion to Christ crucified that eventually became manifest in physical signs. The marks of the crown of thorns appeared on her forehead in 1694 and the 5 wounds on her body in 1697. Juliana was humiliated by the stigmata itself and by her bishop's rigorous testing of her experience. He removed her from ordinary community life and put her under constant observation. When he determined that the phenomena was authentic, he allowed her to return to normal convent life and continue her service to her sisters. She passed away on the 9th of July, 1727, at Città di Castello. After her passing, a figure of the cross was supposedly found impressed upon her heart, and her body has been noted as being incorrupt. She was beatified by Pope Pius VII on 17th of June, 1804, and was canonized by Pope Gregory XVI on the 26th of May, 1839. She is usually represented in art crowned with thorns and embracing the cross. Juliana's rebirth in Lebanon began with the devotion of a Lebanese religious, Brother Emmanuel, who came upon her writings in 1994 while serving at a monastery in Deir el-Zur, Syria. Emmanuel founded a religious order, the Little Servants of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, in 2015, and he believes Juliana has chosen Lebanon as a country to begin or to intensify her mission because Lebanon loves Our Lady quite a lot and has a very deep religious devotion with her, to quote Brother Emmanuel. As of 2016, there are 7 nuns and 4 brothers in the order. Banners throughout the country proclaim "A Saint Rises in Lebanon," heralding the first church in the world outside of Italy dedicated to St. Veronica Juliana. The newly built church in Kasaibe, Lebanon, was consecrated on the 9th of July, 2016, the saint's feast day. That having been said, though, there is more. I'm going to read to you a Spanish language article that I translated into passable English. It's worth noting that the saint has something like 20,000 pages of diaries that have not been published in English yet. She had a gift for prophecy. So if you are a native Portuguese or Spanish speaker and you would like to take a crack at translating her things, reach out to me. I can put you in touch with the person, possibly, if they're okay with that, who brought Saint Veronica to my attention. Anyway, let's take a look at this article from religionandlibertad.com. Now, I'm going to warn you, this translation is pretty rough, so I have to deviate it from it quite a lot here, but I'm sure you understand. Quote, Leo XIII, no human creature except the Virgin received so many supernatural gifts. They ignored Veronica Juliana. The popes say that there is no saint equal in the history of the Church. From the 5th of December 2016. What Leo XIII and Pius IX said about her is not often heard from the lips of those who proclaim the name of the saints, and she is proposed as a doctor of the Church. And yet Saint Veronica Juliana does not enjoy the knowledge among the faithful that one would expect, given the exceptionality of the mysteries that were worked on her. That is beginning to change, especially thanks to the documentary film about her that opens on December 8th of 2016. This is how Valerio Peche tells it in Tempe. After falling into an inexplicable oblivion, new associations of the faithful are born suddenly in her honor, as if it were a heavenly sign for our times. New books are written, sanctuaries are erected, films are made. It really seems the time has come for St. Veronica Juliana, the most sublime and necessary subject of study that has been produced after the Gospel, as stated by Benjamin Dauset, member of the French Academy of Sciences. To the point that, and this time they are words of Leo XIII, no human creature, with the exception of the Mother of God, was granted more supernatural gifts. The Pope of Rerum Novarum was not mistaken. In regards to mystical experiences, this saint, unknown to most, but one that Pius IX defined not a saint but a giant of holiness, and whose mission centered on the atonement, must yet begin in the Church, as prophesied by Cardinal Pietro Palazzini, seems not to be comparable to anyone in the hagiographic panorama. It is impossible to list all the mystical phenomena that she experienced. Impossible and problematic if they were not certified by writings, testimonies, notarial stamps, and, of course, autopsies. Besides essentially experiencing the full passion of our Lord, she visited paradise, purgatory, and even hell in mystical experiences, which she describes in very detailed and terrible ways in her as yet untranslated into English diaries that I referenced earlier. She did all this by obeying her spiritual father. Out of sheer obedience, she wrote in her incredible diary. The poem of love and pain, a hidden treasure of 22,000 pages that has become in recent years a valuable object of study by part of the theologians from all over the world, and of which editions and translations are continually being made. It is among the most beautiful and lofty pages of mystical literature, wrote one modern theologian, which lasted 34 years for her to write, the last 7 apparently dictated directly by the Virgin Mary. After the appearance of the stigmata, which she could not hide, she had to endure harsh humiliations when the Holy Office took up the case. She was locked up for 50 days under isolation. Her great obedience and humility overcame all things. Atonement conquered the heroic yearning of immolation by the desire to convert everyone. She had a heart burning for our Lord. She offered herself so that sinners would convert. Her body today remains incorrupt. You can see in this picture on the screen that you can go visit her. That is a fairly recent picture taken in 2010. Her last words before passing, announced years ago to confessor, were, "Love has let me find him. This is the cause of her suffering," she says. Tell them all, tell them all. She suffered for our Lord. So if you're interested in maybe helping out with some of this translation, you might be able to reach out to me. I don't know if I can find the people who are doing this work, but I would definitely be interested in getting her her prophecies in English for obvious reasons. But let me know what you think about this in the comments, please. This is a saint who, for some reason or another, has largely been forgotten in our time. Thanks for listening. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.